नमस्कार दोस्तों, जय हिंद। द बोरिंग डायरी के एक नए एपिसोड में आपका स्वागत है। आशा करता हूँ आप सभी बढ़िया होंगे। आज के वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करेंगे आर्चर एनजी के बारे में एंड हम थोड़ी देर वेट करते हैं, 1-2 मिनट, एंड देन वी विल गेट इनटू द प्रेजेंटेशन। तब तक आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट है, अगर आप लोगों को ये चैनल अच्छा लगता है तो प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब करें, स्प्रेड द वर्ड। It helps me a lot to create these presentations and videos. आशा करता हूँ आपको ये वीडियो भी अच्छा लगेगा, और अच्छा लगे तो वीडियो लाइक करें एंड स्प्रेड द वर्ड एंड शेयर दिस वीडियो टू फेलो people. Let's see, 2 minutes and we will get into the deck. तुषार भाई देख लेते देख लेते पेशेंट को, इतनी क्या जल्दी थी, रिकॉर्ड कर ही रहा हूँ मैं। ओके, लेट्स स्ट्रेट गेट इनटू द प्रेजेंटेशन एंड आई होप it is visible, maybe visible. Okay. So where is my deck? Let's start with our presentation. So the first news जो आज यानी कि last week आई है, the news is that the Archer original, that is the old Rustam 1, and the Archer NG, that is the kind of a successor to the Tapas drone, unfortunately, which has been facing struggles, are now towards their first flight, एंड विच इज़ इन इट सेल्फ ये काफ़ी बड़ी खबर है। बिकॉज ये बड़ी खबर इसलिए है क्योंकि टिल लास्ट ईयर आई मीन टू से बाई हाफ ऑफ दैट ईयर, half of that year when we came to the news that the Tapas drone that has been taken out of the mission mode. So the thing is that when it was taken out of the mission mode, कई क्रिएटर्स ने बोला कि साला पूरा प्रोग्राम ही शट डाउन हो गया है। दैट इज़ नॉट what it was meant. Mission mode is a project that mission mode category projects are meant to be completed in a very stipulated amount of time, and it's overseen by a higher up. Higher up means people who are in the ministry, in the very high positions, and those projects are being taken care by those high level committees. So unfortunately the Tapas drone did not make it, although it was whatever benchmark it set. It was felt that it was nowhere near to the global standards, but when the so-called rebadged Hermes 900 Drishti 10 came over, then its performance were kind of checked against the brochure ब्रोशर फिगर्स, एंड वो जो डेटा आया दृष्टि 10 का, दैट वाज नॉट एज पर द ब्रोशर फिगर्स, एंड eventually it came out to be worse than Tapas. So in a way Tapas was better than the Drishti 10, if not the MQ-9B drones which have been purchased by the Indian Navy and Air Force. Being said that, there has always been a shortage of UCAVs in the Indian military. I mean to say, unmanned combat aerial vehicle, इसकी कमी हमेशा से ही रही है. There has been ifs and small batches of harpies and other drones like that, but there has been no dedicated UCAV like the TB2 Bayraktar, which we will get into it soon. We will be comparing the Archer drone with the Bayraktar TB2 drone. In this video or in this analysis, unfortunately Yeah, in this analysis, Archer NG is not part of our discussion. This is because simply because it's a bigger category of drone, and it shouldn't be compared with the Archer NG. So, moving forward, our competitor landscape or the major threats in our uh, neighborhood comes from the Bayraktar, the Shafar, and CH-3A drones. So the TB2 drones are now with the Bangladesh Army, Pakistan, and the Maldives. Maldives, we have sorted out our relationship. It was sore, but in any case, the Maldivian army is using a fair share of it, the Bayraktar drones. And now coming to the competitor landscape in case of Pakistan also have these Bayraktar drones. Other than that, they have the Shafar drones. And the last is the CH-3A drones, which we will be taking care in this presentation. मज़े की बात ये है, all these three drones are in service with respective armies, but unfortunately we don't have as such as many UCAVs, or we don't have any dedicated UCAV as of now in this category or in any category. So to say, though we can say that if we consider the Nagastra and all that sort of drones into the UCAF category, then you may say that we have some. But in these relatively heavier categories, this particular category is the sub 1 ton category of UCAFs. So we will be comparing them with the Archer drone in this analysis. So back from the sleep. So Archer one, which was Archer was the drone which we all knew to be the Rustam one. Now this drone is not as such a new drone. ये कोई नया drone नहीं है. It has been there since a very long time, since the mid 2000s, एंड ये जाता आता रहा है न्यूज़ से. 2011 में इसका कुछ ट्रायल्स, वेपन ट्रायल्स हुआ था, एंड देन अगेन इट वेंट बैक इनटू द डेड. सो व्हाई डिड इट केम बैक फ्रॉम द डेड? सो first thing first, so there have been two major conflicts. First was the Azerbaijan conflict, and next is the Ukraine and the Russia scene. So both these wars have showed that uh, drones are going to change the landscape of battlefield a lot. I mean to when I say a lot, I technically mean to say that they have basically changed the conventional strategies, conventional strategy, battlefield order, or all they have been impacted because of the income of the impact of drones. So are there any possible orders in line for the Archer one? The answer is no, though there have been some interest, there have been positive interest by the army and the and the CAPFs, but I am not aware of any major orders as of now. But the Archer new drone has been said to be having 4 hard points, having 80 GMs at anti-tank guided missiles. So this brings us to the point that maybe this is a low-hanging fruit in our journey for getting a dedicated UCAP. So when Bangladesh is deploying this thing, the Bayraktar TB2 on our borders, and the Pakistanis are deploying these things on our borders, it becomes very much a duty of the armed forces, of the Ministry of Defense, of the DRDO to counter such threats, and those threats can't be actually addressed all the times with the help of air defense systems. You have to have some capabilities that mirror or mirror our enemies in a better way, and we ensure that our platforms are at least comparable to them. And this analysis is exactly that, where we will be comparing it to this. So we are directly diving into the analysis. So this graph, this is a simple scatter plot. Let me place a point. Yeah. So simple scatter plot where I have compared the power versus endurance versus the M2 versus the range. So the x-axis will have the endurance. So when we compare the x-axis, the endurance for our SR UAVW or the Archer is relatively low, and the TB2 is very high. Now, when we compare the power, ours SRUVW is relatively has a better engine, 150 horsepower as the online sources speak. So, considering 150 horsepower and the endurance seems to be a bit on the lower side, but we will see. We will see that why this may be the case. So when we see the LOS range, that is the line of sight range, which is coded in colors, so we will see that when it's a red color basically means it is on the lower part of the range spectrum, and the blue color or the violet color basically means a very high range. So the Pakistani's Shafar drone has a very high range but a relatively balanced endurance, and the SRUVW has a relatively okay range at around maybe 150 180 kilometers, maybe 200 kilometers at max. So that's the thing, and the thing is that why the Pakistanis have the Shafar drone has a better range. That possibly can be because this drone particularly is a larger drone. We will see that in the coming slides. It's a larger drone per se, and it can carry a larger amount of fuel, so that may give it a relatively better range. On the other hand, the CH-3A looks like a very rookie drone. The Chinese, in this case, I'm talking about the CH-3A drone, which is a very rookie drone in terms of its number. It neither has the good endurance nor power. Its range is also low, and the M2s are also very on the lower side. So the size of the bubbles here tells you about the maximum takeoff weight. So the SRU AVW has a relatively higher maximum takeoff weight. CH3 and TB2 are relatively on the lower side. The next scatter plot discusses about the range, service ceiling versus payload. So on the x-axis we have the range in kilometers. On the y-axis we have the service ceiling in feet. So SRU AVW, it seems like a very huge difference, but the difference is only 3000 feet, not a big deal, because for the for prototype it is said to have 22,000 kilometers. So the Archer one has gone through a lot of weight reduction exercise, and once we get the data from first flights and all the flight trials that are going to take place, I am sure there will be more reduction in the weight. But being said that, we will also see this more weight is augmented by a relatively higher power engine, which gives the SRU AVW or the Archer a better power to weight ratio. So in this case we can see that the range of the Shafar drone is Shafar drone and TB2 drone are great. They have a good service ceiling compared to SRU AVW. Even the Chinese are performing well on this parameters. But in the case of payload, again we see that the Shafar SR UAVW and the Chinese drones are better than the TB2 drones. How I am comparing the payload, it is the color coding. So if you have the blue color code, that is a larger amount of payload, and the red will denote a lower amount of payload. Now coming to one by one, I have tracked down each and every parameter. So when you compare the payload, then SRU AVW has a little bit greater amount, not very high. The difference in the maximum and the minimum is only 50 kg. So one is 150 or 200. So either it's 200 or it's 150. So the range when we come to the line of sight range, the SRU AVW is in third rank. So if we rank it, I will be talking in the ranks. So it's in the third rank. TB2 and Shafar again outperforms the SRUAVW. Next is the maximum takeoff weight. In this category, SRUAVW performs better than the TB2 and the Chinese CH3A, but not against the Shafar drone. Again, Shafar drones look to be a bit in a better position because of their larger size, hence the amount of fuel they can carry, and all larger size gives them more space, and hence you can mount a bit heavier weapons. Endurance wise, again, this is a traditional Indian aerospace problem that we struggle with the endurance thing. But in any case, it seems that endurance may be a issue, but it is augmented by the payload capacity. So if we reduce the payload again, so that may increase the endurance to some extent. But I think there is some work that needs to be done on the endurance part. So if you ask me, how do I categorize the SRUAVW, I think it is more in sync with the Chinese CH3A than to the Bayraktar TB2 and Shafar drones. Now, power to weight ratio, which is the most important part. Even though you have a heavier body, you have heavier payloads. If you have a better engine which you delivers you power when it's needed the most, then so to some extent we can augment the shortcomings of the heavy weight. So in this case, of all the other three drones, the power to weight ratio of the Archer ड्रोन इज़ दी बेस्ट. आई थिंक इससे बढ़िया अभी तक मुझे इससे इन दिस रीजन पावर टू वेट रेशियो वाइज आई डोंट थिंक देयर इज समथिंग एल्स. नाउ द एरिया, this is where the problem, or you are seeing that SRUAVW has some parameters lesser and compared to the other drones, which can be cleared from this area plot. So the area plot basically tells you is fundamentally is when you look at the drone from above. So how much area does it covers in that is simple length into the wingspan. So that being said, so SRUAVW is much smaller than Shafar and TB2 drone, hence they have a better endurance and better service ceiling, because they have a better fuel carrying capacity, which I am repeating again and again. So being said that, if you analyze it, despite the fact the Archer 1 or the SRUAVW is a very small UAV, but again, despite the fact it being smaller, it still has four pylons which can be loaded with 4 ATGMs, and it has a comparable payload capacity to the Pakistani and the Turkish drone. Now, these are the power numbers. So by power, the engine of the SRUAV or the Archer drone is the second best of the 4 compared here. So that again brings us to the fact that maybe the designers of the Archer drones have tried to compensate the weight with a better engine. Now we will try to understand the design philosophy. So every time a system is designed, it's basically a trade-off between various parameters. So in this case, we will try to understand what are the parameters that has been taken into consideration, and in which drone designers have focused on what. So if we will start with the Indian drone as Archer drone. So the parameters being compared on here for all the drones is the MTOW, the payload, the endurance, the power, the service ceiling, the power to weight ratio, the line of sight range, and the total area. So how to understand these plots? The simple plots is that these are rankings. So I have ranked them based on the each of the parameters. So as you move inwards into the circle, that means the particular parameter is not a key focus. So if one parameter here is on the one circle, the circle saying 1, then that has been the most focused parameter. But if some parameter is on the fourth circle or in the center of the circle, then we can say that that parameter has not that was not in focus while the designers were designing them. So if you understand the SRUAVW, then we can say that payload, power to weight ratio, and the power, and the area were the four significant things that were being considered. So they were not considering service ceiling as a key factor here. So I don't understand why was it that case, because service ceiling has been the biggest point of contention while rejecting the toughest drone. I think that should have been taken care of, but in any case, I think uh, this drone should have been designed a bit to considering the service ceiling. Now, when we move to the Bayraktar TB2 drone, we see that the focus here were the endurance, the service ceiling, the range, and the area, which seems to be, which looks like, and the maximum takeoff weight as well. So this gives you an idea that this drone was made for two purposes. So one purpose was that long range and relatively mediocre payload. Higher endurance or higher service ceiling makes you think that this was made as a surveillance come offensive drone. On the other hand, SRUAVW is being designed more as an offensive role, where it will have a huge huge focus on payload, better MTO, or the maximum takeoff weight, more power, and more power to weight ratio. That is, the drone takes off fast, reaches its target fast, drops a huge amount of payload, and comes back from the target area fast. So that itself looks like a very much uh, focused on a very offensive role, and it's not been looked as a primarily surveillance drone, although it has a EOIR, dedicated EOIR sensor, which is now a standard thing for all the drones. For the Shaffer drones, the Pakistanis have on paper made a very good drone. It seems they have balanced out almost every aspect: the size, the range, the maximum takeoff weight, the endurance, the power, except the power to weight ratio. That is, they have not focused much on the power to weight ratio, maybe because a better a propulsion system for their drone was costing them too much, and they don't have money. uh, 1 second, I may have someone on the door. So yeah, coming back to the Pakistani Shaffer drones, then we can say that uh, they did make a good drones, at least on paper. I'm not sure about how this will come out in the battlefield, but they have been very focused around modernizing their air power, despite the fact how the quality turns out to be, and they have been over dependent on the Chinese. And I am sure the Shaffer drones are more or less are some copy of a Chinese drone only. Coming to the CH-3A drone, the Chinese possibly were thinking of making this drone as their study kind of a prototype, which will help them to develop further drones, which eventually did develop into the CH-4 and the other categories of drone. They have their focus was basically on the payload and the service ceiling, and to some extent power, good power to weight ratio, and the endurance. But the triangle here seems like they were not so serious about this drone. So yes, one thing about the TB2 drone that makes it a bit more, or what should I say, a bit more mature system, was that it has seen real life engagements, and the strategies have been built around how to use this system. I don't have the source, but I think this particular drone has a EW suite of its own, which has been tailor made to fit on drones. Either it is for the TB2 drone or for the Akinci, I don't remember. But in any case, TB2 drone seems to be a system of concern for the SRUAVW. But the SRUAVW is a decent system. I don't think it should be rejected as such, simply because uh, we don't have any dedicated UCAP. And first thing first, and the next point is that anything that we are going to buy from the foreign market won't give us the technological ability that the SRUAVW or the Archer drone are going to give us. So that is one point. The next point, let me see, I did note down. Next point was that this drone can be a very good uh, export product. So the Armenians have been buying a lot of product from us lately, and they may be interested in a system that in a similar system that has already wreak havoc on their forces. So they may also want to have similar system that helps them in similar way. So that is my analysis of these four drones. The other thing that we came to know in the last week was that the Indian Army has achieved 88% Atmanirbharta in ammunition, which in itself is a very good thing. good thing. And the first thing that came to my mind was that जब मैं छोटा था in the 10-12 standards, तब मैं पढ़ता था कि the army is left with ammunitions worth only for 7 days or 14 days or 21 days, like that. And it used to be a point of concern. So this particular good news has been made possible because of the private sector's involvement in ammunition manufacturing. Because before 2014, the ordnance factory boards were the only company that was producing ammunition for the Army, Navy, Air Force, and other CAPFs. But that is not enough. Those 3 or 4 or 5 factories, however how many they are, those five factories are not enough. Were not enough. Hence, for a huge army and for a huge CAPF, we always required a larger military industrial complex that can produce ammunitions. So one thing that we learned from the Ukraine-Russia war was that simply that although the platforms, the manpower is important, another thing that is important is what the guns fire, the bullets, the cannon rounds, the charges, etc., are equally important. And that is one of the reason the West has been unable to completely beat down Russia in the conflict, because of the simple reasons. The Russians have a better ability, or better ammunition manufacturing capacity. They have been running and producing ammunition day in and day out they have been getting supply from the Chinese, from the North Koreans. So they have also felt a pinch regarding the ammunition part. So in a long conflict which whenever it happens, if it happens between India and China, which is supposed to be a long conflict, because I don't think it's going to be 5 days, 6 days, because both sides are to some extent matched in different criterias. So anybody who says that अरे देखो उनके पास इतने फाइटर है, उनके पास इतने जेट है, हमसे बहुत ज़्यादा है, they will roll over us, that is not the case, that is not going to happen. So that is one thing that I feel it's a very good news. Since 2014, the government has been focusing on coming up with new and new manufacturing facilities. First it was with the Punj Lloyd systems, then came the Triple S Defense, then the Adanis and Bharat Forge, and now we have a lot of private manufacturers producing ammunitions. सो यस, दैट्स अ वेरी गुड न्यूज़. आई होप कि आपको वीडियो अच्छा लगा होगा, और मेरे ख्याल से आज इतना ही. आप लोग कल ज़रूर ज्वाइन करें मेरे लाइव को, जहाँ पे मैं कावेरी इंजन पे ऐसे ही इन डेप्थ डिस्कशन करूँगा. आशा करता हूँ आपको वीडियो अच्छा लगा होगा. वीडियो अच्छा लगे तो ज़रूर सब्सक्राइब करें, और तब तक के लिए धन्यवाद. जय हिंद. और आपको कोई क्वेश्चंस पूछने हैं तो आप लाइव पे पूछ सकते हैं. मैं यहाँ पे अभी थोड़ी देर वेट करूँगा. या साहिल भाई, हेलो हेलो, कैसे हो? बढ़िया. सोमनाथ जी, हाय. Yes, Astra Mark II, Sahil ji. हाँ, Astra Mark II, I know. I was looking for it for a while now, and that is definitely will be going to get into mass production, because these system which are coming now are kind of a costly system now, and if we are going to import this basic system, it's going to be a heck of a mess in terms of financial capabilities. One thing I strongly believe about the upcoming scenario in the battlefield is that we should have a decent amount of technology, and at a relatively cheaper rate. So we should be able to manufacture our arms, ammunition platforms at a cheaper rate and at a good technological level. So that is why depending upon import is not going to help us in terms of anything. It may address our short term requirements, but even in medium and long term, imports are not going to help you. So that is one thing that I strongly feel. इसके अलावा और कुछ आपको पूछना है तो आप लोग ज़रूर पूछ सकते हैं. उस्ताद भाई, गुड इवनिंग, नमस्ते. बढ़िया. मेरे को लगता है कि होना चाहिए, बट थिंग इज़ दैट अभी उसको वी शुड बी गोइंग वन बाय वन. फर्स्ट इज़ द अस्त्रा मार्क वन. इट विल गो already went into production, Astra Mark II. Then eventually we will move into that realm. The SFDR is being tested, and I think we will get there maybe in 6-7 years. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I will share these decks here on my Twitter, so you may have a better look on this. Yes, Anton Sokolov. Yes, they were actually news, and I think they will eventually buy it in some years. आर्मीनिया के भरोसे ही तो मेक इन इंडिया चल रहा है, वरना तो कैसे ही चलेगा मेक इन इंडिया हमारा. Also, if you guys can share what more you want me to discuss here, so I will uh, start focusing on those topics as well. Other than defense, I am up for anything in geopolitics. पे भी है मेरा, मेरे मेजॉरिटी वीडियोस में उसी पे जियोपॉलिटिक्स पर ही है. ऑल्सो इनटू सम सोशल स्टफ. LRASHM में सर जी, साहिल सिंह जी, मैंने वीडियो बनाया है. आप एक बार मेरे चैनल पे चेक कर सकते हैं. मैंने वीडियो बनाया है. But I think when LRASHM was first tested, even I was surprised. इतनी जल्दी इन्होंने हाइपरसोनिक मिसाइल बना भी लिया, एक प्रॉपर हाइपरसोनिक मिसाइल. So I was quite happy after that. But जैसे इन Chinese 6th generation fighter jet came up, oh भाई ये क्या हो गया. I was surprised. ये भी expect नहीं किया था. So yes. Anything else, guys? I hope so, Sahil. I hope so. They test it quick. I actually don't follow the missile news so much, because simply because it has matured enough. Our DRDO has worked tremendously well in the missile domain, and part of it is the presence of very robust testing facility. Which has been a key problem for the jet engine domain though, कि हमारे पास प्रॉपर टेस्टिंग फैसिलिटीज़ नहीं है, विच आई विल डिस्कस टुमारो इन द कावेरी इंजन slides. And do connect with me on the live. I will upload the timings for tomorrow. अभी डिसाइड नहीं किया मैंने कब ज्वाइन करूँगा. लेट्स सी. Okay guys, that's it. I think I will drop off now. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Do subscribe my channel. आपके जान पहचान में और कोई है, उनके साथ चैनल के बारे में ज़रूर शेयर करें, उन्हें भी सब्सक्राइब करने को बोले. इतना डिटेल वीडियो आई थिंक कोई नहीं बनाता है. एवरीवन जस्ट कम्स एंड जस्ट टेल्स यू अबाउट द न्यूज़ आइटम. सो आई विल शो यू. इट टेक्स सम अमाउंट ऑफ एफर्ट to make these things. I did write Python codes to come up with those graphs and analysis. So it takes a lot of effort. Do subscribe and share about my channel. I think that will be very helpful. So I think that's it from my end. Anything else you guys want to ask, can tell me. Okay guys, that's it. I am okay. It's time. I hope आपको वीडियो अच्छा लगा होगा. वीडियो अच्छा लगे तो चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, वीडियो को लाइक करें. कल तक के लिए नमस्कार, जय हिंद.